All right, we're just gonna keep on going. I'm gonna split each of these videos up, but we're just gonna step right into black here, just so we can shorten these videos because I think the multicolor video is gonna be much longer. So going to common crook, we have 1 in a black, 2 mana for when this creature dies, create a treasure token, and it's a 2/2. Fantastic. I think it's going to be a staple in every black deck. You get the treasure token, you can ramp up. And there's even other cards like Rent is Due where you can tap the treasure token. So I think it's going to be fantastic in every blue card. It's not going to change anything, but it's going to be better than something like, the 2/1 black creature that dies gives you a lander token. I mean, arguably, right? Arguably. You get the one-time treasure token versus a permanent land. But I think I'm going to give that C+. Going to be great in any black deck as your 2-drop filler. Next card we have is Inner Demons Gangsters or Chaldea Brawlers. 4 mana for a 34, a little bit under rate. But discard a card and then this creature gets +1 and menace until end of turn. Activate as a sorcery. This is going to be an incredible trigger for your Mayhem cards. You're going to really want at least 2 of these. Probably for every Mayhem deck, because you can just at any time during your turn, of course, you can Mayhem a card out. The stat line itself is not great, but I think the effect of being able to discard a card is going to be great, but only as useful in a Mayhem deck. So I think because of that, I'm going to give this a C+. Could be higher, could be lower. Average around C+. All right, next up we have Merciless Enforcers. 2, 1 in a black for a 2/1 with lifelink. And then later on, you can gain life and have your opponent lose 1 for 4 mana, 3 in a black. So I think that's actually really good. It doesn't do nothing on your late game. It can, stabilize the board for you a little bit. And even then, 2 for a 2/1 lifelink is fantastic. So I think I'm also going to give a C+. Next up, we have Risky Research or Clandestine Work. 2 in a black for a sorcery speed. Surveil 2, draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. Not as great, I guess, as the potential to gain 2 life in, the other Surveil card in Edge of Eternities. But you do get to Surveil 2, which is a little bit more information. Going to be kind of your typical, draw cards from black. Not the worst, not the best. But, happy to play in a deck. Excuse me. So but the downside of always losing 2 life, excuse me. Ooh, that post-COVID cough doesn't go away, huh? But anyways, I think it's, we'll set it at C- for now. Then we have Scorpion Sting. All right, we're getting into black removal, which is going to be fantastic in the set. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn for 2, and it is an instant. So better than just deal 3 damage. You get the whole -3/-3, meaning it can also act as a combat trick. I think that's going to be one of black's best removals. But because it doesn't do anything on the high end, I'm just going to give it a B- instead of, the other ones. But I think because of how the other removal cards in this set are, I think black removal is going to be premium in addition to white. All right, next up we have Swarm Being of Bees or Wekdu, Midnight Hunter. For 2 in a black, you get a flash flying mayhem creature for 2/2. So if you discard this with something like the Inner Demons Gangsters, then you can immediately get it back in for 1 mana. And it's at flash speed too. So during your turn, you can cast it at any time once it goes into the graveyard that turn. Or you can play it as a turn 3 2/2 flyer. So I think this has a lot of flexibility. Is it as good? Maybe I gave too many C+ here, huh? I do think they're great. I'm going to give a Wekdu a C+ too. All right, next we have Venom, one of my favorite Marvel villains. Evil Unleashed, or Tethek's Gift of Malice. It's one of my favorite Omen Path villains now. But anyways, for 4 in a black, you get a Death Touch 4/5 with 2 and a black to exile this card and put 2 +1/+1 counters for modify, and then also gaining Death Touch. Activate as a sorcery. I think this is actually going to be something not well, I don't know what I'm saying there, but I think this is going to be very playable in black. And as a 4/5 heavy chumper, I think this is going to be fantastic. When it dies, you can still do something with it. So let's give it a C+. I know I've been giving so many C+, but I do think it is that much better than the blue, some of the other cards that we saw, like the blue one. All right. And then next up we have, Vein Marked Leonin, or Venomized Cat. For 2 and a black, you get a 2/3 Death Toucher. So your average rate, and then when it enters, mill 2 cards. Kind of reminiscent of, was it Shinra Reinforcements, except you don't get the life. But it also has Death Touch, making it, a body that can block anything as well. So, and you get to mill. Another C+. Man, black is really getting the C pluses here, huh? But, I think the removal is going to be better overall, and it has just a solid base. So black is looking like a great base to play off of. Next up, we have Venom's Hunger. For 4 and a black, destroy target creature, you gain 2 life. And if you control a villain, which in, black, even the cat is a villain. So black and blue, of course, is going to be so easy to have. Then it only costs 3, 2 and a black, to destroy target creature and gain 2 life for sorcery speed. Not the best, but I think amazing rate for 3 mana. I'm gonna give this also a B-, just because of the life gain, and you're always gonna play it in a black deck. I think some people may have that as lower because of the cost and the sorcery speed, but I think because of how easy it is to get the villains and the life gain, I think that bumps it up to the B category for me. All right, so on to our uncommons. We have Alien Symbiosis for 1 and a black, or Aggressive Symbiosis. For enchant creature, that creature gets +1/+1 as a symbiote. And then you can also cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card, in addition to paying its other costs. So it does enable Mayhem. The buff that it gets, I don't think is that good. There are a few symbiote payoffs in this set, but for 2 for a +1/+1, I don't think it's going to be that great. That reasoning, I'm going to give it a D+. I'm not giving anything lower because, again, it does let you play Mayhem cards. But I don't think it's going to be that great. I mean, who knows? All these people figure out ways to use the set mechanics in such interesting ways. So I can see this becoming like a C or even a B, but for now I'll put it a D+. We'll see how it performs. Oh shoot, is Prison Break? I think Prison Break is Prison Break. Is not the same card, of course, art, but is also called Prison Break. We have 4 and a black for return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with an additional +1/+1, so a better reanimate, and then Mayhem for 4. So again, along with the reanimates of the world, you need a creature card in your graveyard. Probably going to have it at turn 5. And then with Mayhem, it's cheaper. So it's going to be hard to cast this for Mayhem unless you have the other payoffs. So for that reason, I'm just going to give it a solid C. And then next up, we have Miasmic Mist, or, sorry, there's no other one there, but, or Sandman's Quicksand. For 3, 1 and 2 black, sorcery card for all creatures get -2/-2. Look how Fire Magic turned out. Also low in the beginning, and then ended up being one of the best cards in red. But this, if for Mayhem for 4, if this Mayhem cost was paid, creatures your opponents control get -2 instead. So potential board wipe, but at sorcery speed a little bit less. I'm going to give this a C+. Next up, we have Scorvus Ames, Crime Lord, or Scorpion, Seething Striker. For 3 and a black, you have a 3/3 Death Toucher. A lot of Death Touch in black, huh? At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, this target or target creature you control connive. So you can have you can get the payoff immediately at the end of your turn when you play this. So this is, I think, going to be fantastic card. Again, this sets up Mayhem better than I think even Inner Demons Gangsters does, because your opponent always has to respond if you do attack. Obviously, you can't just play it, but and it's the beginning of your end step. Oh shoot! Oh, so maybe not. I don't know. I think it's a good rate, and it pumps the board. Um, and then it's any creature, not even your own. So I think this is gonna be great. C plus, as I say that right. All right, then we have Spider-Man Noir or Crobel, Envoy of the Bog. For 4 and a black, you get 4/4 Menace, and then whenever a creature you attacks alone, put a +1/+1 counter it, then act Surveil. That's amazing. I think this is, you play it, you can immediately get the +1/+1. I think this is gonna be a B minus. I think one of Black's best uncommons here. Now we have the Spots Portal or Remorseless Coup. Put target creature on bottom of its owner's library. You lose 2 life unless you control a villain. So almost even better than Damning Caress or Venom's Hunger. I'm actually rethinking that score. That's sorcery speed. This one is almost an exile because if you put on the opponent's bottom library, unless they shuffle, they're almost nearly never going to have it again. So I think in limited, this is actually going to be even better. I'm going to change Damon Caress to a C plus and make this a B. Especially because you can play this at instant speed. Then we have Tombstone, Career Criminal, or Nil, Vessel of Valgavoth, which should be in this spot. Sorry about that. Again, shout outs to, what is it? Right here. It's Extra Billy for making this. Great job, Extra Billy. Thank you for letting me use it. But just a few things off here. But for 2 and a black, you get a 2/2. When it enters, return target villain card from your graveyard to your hand, which is going to be very easy to do. And then villain spells you cast cost 1 less. Fantastic. And you can return the card. I think this is actually going to be a B minus. Some people may not think so, but I think you get recursion and you get cheaper cards. So it's going to be 1 to kill. Now we go into Black's rare. So Black actually has more rares than most. Has the most cards in the set, with, of course, Soulstone being very hard to pull. But anyways, we have our first card is Agent Venom. Super cool card. Or Relax the Accursed. For 2 and a black, you get a 2/3 Flash. Because, for those that don't know, Agent Venom is actually Flash Thompson from the white set. But to get a Flash, a Menace creature, and then whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Morbid Opportunist, anybody? But in a Flash Menace form? Yikes, this is going to be incredible. So I'm going to give this an A. And Menace, so it'll go in. If you play this turn 3, you can swing for a couple. I think it's going to be a game changer. Next up, we have Black Cat, Cunning Thief, or Wrench, Speedway Saboteur. Black Cat, obviously, I think being the cooler card here. But, let's see here. So 3 and a 2 black for a 2/3. Whenever it enters, look at the top 9 cards of target opponent's library. Exile 2, face down, then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. You may play the exiled cards for as long as they remain exiled. And then mana of any type can be spent to cast spells this way. At turn 5 or later, I think this is actually going to be an incredible card. 9 cards is no joke. That is almost 25% of a player's library. You're going to hit something. That's actually, and then you get a body. Oh man. And then you can just mess up their curve if they have it, huh? I think this is also going to be a bomb. Excuse me. But I wonder if this is going to be one of those things where, kind of like, the Kavu where you could draw a card. Um, as long as does this card have to remain in play for the ability that you may play the exiled cards? If that's the case, this is definitely A or even A plus. If they remove this and then the exiled 2 cards goes away, then I think this is like an A minus. So I'm just gonna put it as an A as an average. Next up, we have the death of Gwen Stacy, or the house grows hungry. Tragic, tragic. So for 2 and a black, you get to destroy target creature. Amazing already. Second phase, each player may discard a card, and each player who doesn't loses 3 life. So this is going to be better, especially if you're black. You can, do your mayhem shenanigans. But also does trigger the opponent's mayhem. But fortunately, there are less flash or an instant mayhem cards. And then 3, exile any number of target players' graveyards, which is going to be better for you to act as a graveyard hate for, I guess, there. I don't know. Anyways, I think even for the first card, it does something. So I think that the last 2 effects aren't as powerful, but and that also includes you. So I think this is going to be a B plus because it's great removal, and it has the potential of upside. Is this as the question is does it become a detriment? You can't play this at the end if you have 0 cards, or else you lose 3 life, huh? Is Remorseless Coup better? That's a good question. I'm gonna give this a B. Yeah, because it doesn't just put it on the bottom. You just instantly destroy the creature. So a better version of Venom's Hunger or something, huh? All right, now we have Morlun, Devourer of Spiders, or Lewis, Pompous Pillager. Lewis does look fantastic, huh? All right, so for X black, you get a 2/1 life flinker with X +1/+1 counters, so great for modify. And then when he enters, deal X damage to target opponent. So, at the very end, this is going to be amazing. As just if they have 5 life, 3 life, you just pay this for 7 or 5. And then even then it becomes higher with the lifelink. I think this is going to be fantastic. And even then you can play this on basically any turn. With a lifelink, I think Morlun/Lewis is going to be amazing. So I'm also going to give this an A. Next we have Parker Luck, or Duskmourn's Claim. Beginning of your end step for 2 and a black. 2 target players reveal each reveal the top card of the library. So in limited, this is going to be you and your opponent. They each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. Then they each put the card they revealed into their hand. Yikes, what the heck is this? This is a great card in Commander, because there's 4 players. And then they would each lose life. But it's a luck of the draw in limited for just drawing cards for a worse Phyrexian Arena. Man, I think this is the first F, right? Someone correct me? This is the first F? Unplayable. I think. Oh well. Oh well. Well, we go from unplayable to incredibly playable in Villainous Wrath for 3 black. Target opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures they control, and then destroy creatures. So I punish you, and then I board wipe you. I think this is just A+. Right? Crazy. White weenies, goodbye. There goes, over half your life. Jeez, that's going to be hard to play against. And then we have another great card, Behold the Sinister Six. For 7 mana, return up to 6 target creature cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. Imagine having Villainous Wrath You play that turn 5 or 6, and then you play turn 7, Behold the Sinister 6, and return all your creatures. I want to do that. I want to do that. I don't think this is as good as Villainous Wrath, because even though you look at the effect and you're like, oh my gosh, I get 6 creatures. Sometimes you don't even have 6 creatures. It's sometimes tough. And then if your 6 creatures are 2/3 drops that don't have that much effect on the board, if you have like 3 or 4 of them, this definitely isn't as good. But I think at the end, you just swing in and try to get in, and then you can play this to get all your creatures back. The great thing is that they don't come in tapped, so they immediately have potential to block. I think this is going to also be another bomb, so A- for me here. Knowing that, with 7 cost mana, it's an A. Man, giving out so many A's. It does affect the board, so I'm going to give it an A. And then we have Eddie Brock, or Vigu, Enforcer of Ig's Crossing. For 2 and a black for a 3/3, great rate. Return target creature with mana value 1 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Not many cards like that, and I don't think any in black that we saw. So definitely going to need a splash for the effect. And then, let's see. Turn it over for 3 black, red, and a green. We have a 5/5 Menace, Trample, Haster that whenever Venom attacks, or, of course, Ego, you may sacrifice another creature, and if you do, draw X cards, then you may put a permanent card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, where X is a sacrifice creature mana value. Okay, that's a lot, but basically, you sack a 2 and a black or whatever 3 cost creature, you draw 3 cards, and then put another card that costs 3 onto the battlefield. This was a commander card. This was a commander card. Is it going to be as good in limited? You're going to have to be in red and green, which are going to be good for recursion. You have, I think there's a few other mayhem cards in red. For 2 and a black, there's not going to be a lot of limited cards that can pull that off that early on too. So it depends on how many 1-cost creatures are in red and green. So, and it does cost quite a lot to get the effect, but when it does get the effect, you can immediately get the effect, I guess. So I will give this a B+. Maybe B. Excuse me. Then what if they block it? But even if they block it, you have drawn the cards and put another permanent onto the creature. Of course, most likely you'll have it too, because you draw the cards first. Yeah, B+. It costs a lot to pull off, but if you do pull it off, incredible. And not that hard to pull off, so I think that's why. I will give it a B+ there. Next we have Egrix, the Bile Bulwark, or Gwenum Remorseless. Super cool art card here. For 3 and 2 black, we have a 4/4 Death Touch Lifelinker. Fantastic. And then you have Bolas Citadel attached to it, which means that when you have to attack first, and then if you do, until end of turn, you may look at the top card and play it with life instead of mana. So it does cost a lot, but you do get the ratio of your cost back. Meaning, what I mean is, you have a 4/4 body, but you also have Death Touch and Lifelink. And then if you do end up swinging for it, you can use the effect. And most times you'll have the life back because of the lifelink ability. So I think this is going to be good. It does cost quite a bit, but and it doesn't have Menace. I think that's what holds this back, because it doesn't have Menace. So I'm going to give this a B. And finally, we have the Soul Stone, or the Terminus of Return, the Chase Mythic from this set. I'm really hoping to open one up, but So for 1 and a black, you get a black mana rock, and then you can harness it for 7, exile a creature you control, to then return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I expect this to function similarly to something like the Endstone and Edge Returnees, where, but even better, of course, because you play this so early. But once you get all that mana at the end game, then it just becomes unstoppable. So I think this is also going to be an A plus because of the fact that it ramps you there, and it's indestructible. You know, so the only thing that can remove it is going to be a bounce spell. But even then, you play it again for so cheap, it pays for itself for 1 mana. So I'm also going to give that an A plus. Oh man, black is looking amazing in the rares and mythics. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the next cards show. On to the next.